Hello, hello, my stamping friends. It's Pam Jorgensen here. I'm stamping in my studio, of course, stamping in my PJs, right? I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in regional Victoria, Australia, and I love to share my crafty projects with all of you. So today is Fun Fold Friday, and boy, do I have a fun fold. I cannot wait to share it with you how to make it. It is a little gift card holder. And then it has some treats, and then you can write a message on the back. So cute. So stay with me because I have another one to share with you at the end, but let's get started. So for today, you will need a paper trimmer. You will need some designer series paper. And for this one, I'm using the beautiful online exclusive paper called Delightful Floral. So that is online exclusive only. We're using Berry Burst Basic White. So very, very simple. The only other thing that you will need is you will need to have a skinny punch or a die to cut out this little window. Now I am going to use the Smiling Designer dies, which are, let me find them for you, or Sending. They're called Sending dies right here, page 166 in the annual catalog. I'm going to be using that long skinny one to cut out my peekaboo window. So let's get started, and then I'll give you all the measurements at the end after we're all done. So let's do some stamping first, my friends. Then we're going to do some measuring and some scoring. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be making this as a happy birthday treat holder. I'm going to ink up my happy birthday stamp. And this is going to go on the back of my project. Now this piece is 3.5 inches this way, 4.5 inches long. So let's stamp that up. Happy birthday. Let's see if it's straight. Oh, it is. That doesn't happen very often. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is I have a little 1/2 inch strip of basic white cardstock as well. And I am going to stamp confetti and cake for your happy day. And believe it or not, today is my birthday. It's been an amazing day so far. There we go. Confetti and cake for your happy day. So we'll close up the ink so I don't wear that everywhere. And then I just have a little decorative piece of designer series paper to go on the bottom. Now this one is a 1/2 inch wide by the 4.5 inches long of my basic white. You could have whatever you wanted back here. You could have glue, you could have your stamp and seal, whatever works for you. I'm going to go just like that. And then just because out of that Delightful Floral Designer Series paper, I have just fussy cut out one of the little flowers, and I think I'm just going to pop that. I might pop it up this way. So let's go ahead and use some dimensionals and get that popped up while we're back here working. And then for today's project, I'm going to use some of the Tencel Gems 3-pack. So let's add, see, which one should we add? I think we might use some of these little light purple ones. Those are pretty. There we go. And maybe we'll put one up there. And then that is done and dusted and ready to go. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to set my sentiment aside. And let's pull in our piece of cardstock. Now our cardstock I've already cut. It is, let me get my arm out here. It is 6 3/4 inches wide, 6 3/4 by 10 inches long. So it's quite large. So on this 10-inch side, we are going to come in and we are going to score that at 2 3/4 of an inch. 5 1/4, 6 1/2, 7 1/2, 8 3/4, and 9 3/4. Now I'm going to turn that, and I'm going to score this at 1 inch and 5 3/4 of an inch. Now remembering, so we've cut 1 inch on each side. Now you won't be able to see it, but there's 2 little rectangles down here on the end. I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut those out. I will slightly angle when I cut out that little strip. So you can see I have that little bit of an angle cut, and I'm going to repeat that on this side. This is going to become our little tab that we glue our box shut with. Now, we are also going to be removing, you will find 2 big long rectangle areas down here. These were at the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to be cutting those out. The easiest way to do that is line that back up on the 1 inch mark on the right side of our cutting line. When we look at our cutting blade and our scoring blade for that fact, they have a little line right here. So we're able to line that up perfectly with our score line that goes straight across. So we have 1 score line, 2 score lines, because we're going to cut out these 2 rectangles. So I'm going to line that up and just slice up on that 1 inch mark, and that is going to give me this little leg. I'm going to flip my paper over and do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Lining that up and cutting up. Perfect. So now what I can do is I can just take my paper snips and just cut straight up that score line and remove that piece, and repeat that on the opposite side as well. Straight up and remove. Now I'm going to take my paper snips and just very carefully cut up those additional score lines up to that 1 inch score line mark. And that is going to give us 4 little legs, 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side. So I'm going to repeat over on this side. Just like that. Now, in order to make our box, we are going to need to cut out our little window. So whether you use that as a punch or whatever you decide to use to die cut that out, what we need to do is we are going to die cut the second scored rectangle. So you have your little tab here. You have your first scored rectangle. And there's your second one. And this is the one that we are going to cut out. All right, I'm going to take that die. I'm going to center that down into that second rectangle, remember. Now you will probably want to use sticky note or washi tape to hold that down. I have just some sticky Post-it notes. I'm going to center that down, and I want to hold it in place with my washi tape or your Post-it, whatever you have, just so it doesn't move. And I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. Now, this paper is wider than our machine, right? So I want to tuck one set of these tabs up so that they don't hang up on the side of my machine when I run that through. Okay, so I'm going to run that through and I will be right back. All right, so I have run this through the machine, and I'm just going to peel back those little window pieces, peel off my Post-it, and there's my little window die cut out of my box. Now you could save this piece. Maybe we'll use it. I'm going to set it aside. I'm not going to throw that away yet. Let's come back to our project. So the first thing that you want to do is take your bone folder, and we are going to burnish our score marks. When we do that, we are not going to burnish this last one. So let me show you. We're going to burnish 3 of these little box ones. Okay, we're going to go up 3 of those. Then we're going to come to this next one, and this is where our paper has cut, and we are not going to burnish that one. If you do, it's not a big deal. It'll be fine, but we are going to burnish the one on the top. You will note that this paper does not line up evenly with that score mark. It actually goes down over that. And then the same thing, you're going to come along and burnish all of your little tabs as well. Now you will need some kind of punch or a die that will cut out your center mark. This paper that I'm going to use right now, this is Designer Series paper, 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And I am going to put that down. I'm not sure. I think we might go this way. Let's have a look. I've die cut out one of our flowers. I think we'll go this way. All right, so let me put this down onto my cardstock, just like that. So we're just centering it just like normal. Give that a little bit of a push. Now I'm just going to take my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. This is available out in the online shop. I'm going to take a pencil, and I am going to draw a little mark about halfway between the right and the left side of that. It's just a little guide mark. You could use a pen, whatever you have. It's just so I can guide myself as to where I want to punch my little half a moon out of my project so that we can pull that gift card out. Remember, we have our little gift card here, and it just helps people be able to pull it out if you don't have ribbon on the end. So when we glue this shut, I have a little bit of glitter from my sample. We want to add just a little bit of our liquid glue at the top and on the left side. You do not want to add any of your glue on these little wing areas, or your box, your gift card, is not going to close. While that glue is setting up, I'm also going to add a piece of window sheet. This is about 1 inch wide by 4 1/4 inches long. You can use liquid glue. If you do, use very sparingly, because on the plastic, it tends to spread out. And then the next thing you know, you have glue oozing everywhere. So I'm not going to use a whole lot. I'm just going to set that down onto that. If you don't have acetate, you are also able to grab some of your stamp sets that are clear. Let's see if I have one here. Is this one clear? There we go. This is one of our photopolymer stamp sets. They come with a really rigid piece of acetate here and a more flimsy one here. And I just will use the flimsy one and use that as acetate instead. Okay, so it's a good way to upcycle the things that you already have. Now that my glue, while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and close that door. Hopefully I let that set up long enough so it's not oozing everywhere. Perfect. And our window is dried as well. So I'm just going to give that little tiny piece right here, a little tiny door holder, a little bit of another burnish, and I'm just going to take a little bit of my liquid glue and put that on that little tiny tab. While that is setting up, I have also cut another piece of Designer Series paper. This is 7/8 inch wide by 4 1/2 inches long. If you wanted, you could also put one on the front, but I always forget, so that's all right. We'll just have one here. So 7/8 inches wide. You could go an inch, but it's going to be tight. Now I'm just going to tuck that little flap with the glue back, and then I'm just going to press that down. And when I do, that is going to put that adhesive right in the correct spot for our box to be formed. Look at, perfect, perfect. Now on the right side, I'm going to first tuck in my top and bottom flaps, and I'm going to tuck in the one from the back. Now sometimes that one does not fit, and so I may just angle cut that one just a bit to get it out of the way. And then I'm going to fold the front one back so that I have a nice, it looks nice on the front. There's no seams showing, okay? So let me give that a little bit of a hold just to get that glued in. Just making sure everything's glued flat. While I'm waiting for all of that to adhere together before I start messing with it, let me give that a little bit of a burnish. I'll go ahead and add this to the back. Put that on the back of our project. There we go. Okay, so let's finish this. I think I'm going to pop this up. So I'll grab some dimensionals again. And then I'm going to grab our sentiment, confetti and cake for your happy day. And I think I'm just going to cut that at an angle. Okay, so to finish this little box, I have a piece of cardstock. Now this cardstock is not quite an inch wide. You're going to have a little bit of a fiddle to figure out what will work for your box. I have 5. These are Hershey Kisses, which of course are American, but you can get these sometimes at the Reject Shop. You can get them at the USA Food Shop out of Melbourne. So they're available here in Australia. I'm going to take some glue dots, and you could really use any kind of candy, to be honest. I might even use, sometimes it's still a little bit cool out here, so my glue dots do not want to come off. So I'm going to just take and stick on some of our glue dots. So I'm going to start with the 2 end ones so that I can gauge how much room I have to fill in with my next kiss. You could use any kind of candy that is wrapped. You probably want it to be wrapped because you need to anchor it down with a glue dot. So I'm just filling in my space. There we go. And there's our 5 candies in a row. And that will slide right smack dab into our box. Just like that. Look at how cute is that? Okay, so now to close this box, we don't want to really glue this side in case they want to reuse it. So I'm going to fold in the top and the bottom. I'm going to fold in the back one, and then once again fold that front one over and have a look and make sure everything's lined up. Now it does get a little tricky to tie ribbon around a box. I'm going to put a bow on the top. So what you can do is go ahead and take your ribbon of choice, and I cut mine off the spool. It takes approximately 18 inches of ribbon, I suppose. Now I'm going to take my ribbon. I'm just going to gently tie a bow in my project. Whoops. Okay, so go ahead and get your bow tied. And what I would do is I would actually get it trimmed to however you want it to be, however long. And then I actually take it off and then wrap it back around my box with the bow on the top. Now I might swing that down to that side, just like that. Make that little bow look. This one's a little bit too long. There we go. And I'm going to trim my ends just a little bit, just like that. And then with your gift card, you can decide if you want to leave it plain, but sometimes people might not know to pull that out. So I would just take a little bit of the same ribbon that you just used, measure it around your gift card, and then you could tie it in a knot. You could tie this one's skinny enough that you could probably just tie it in a little knot so people know to pull out that little gift. And if you hang tight, I have another one to show you. So here we go. So we can stick those in. You could even put a little tab there with something that says pull, or, you know, that gives people the indication to pull that little item out. Now I do have some clear ones. I think I might just use some of these clear ones on the front because they're just my favorite. Love these. Put one over there. And I might even put a couple down in the front. How pretty and how fun is that? So confetti and cake for your happy day, happy birthday, and there's a little treat in there and a gift card. Perfect. I hope you guys have liked this project. Here's a Christmas version. And then I did one more version. I've taken off the bow, but this was a for you. I needed to steal the candy out of there. For you. Simple, easy, fun gift cards. All right, you guys, thanks for joining in. See you next Friday. Make sure you like and subscribe if you would like to see more of these. See you soon. Bye-bye.